There is a church in Stonecrest, Georgia, sitting on 35 acres of debt-free land, and its pastor just made a decision that could reshape what a Black church actually is in America. Not a place you visit on Sunday and forget by Monday. An economic engine. A bank without a vault. A movement wearing a choir robe. His name is Dr. Jamal Bryant, and on June 21st, 2026, during Juneteenth weekend, he stood at the pulpit of Birth Missionary Baptist Church and did something rarely heard from a Sunday morning stage. He didn't preach a sermon. He unveiled a blueprint. And he called it Blackground. Here's the headline number first, because it's the one that stopped people mid-scroll. 3,000 families had already signed up for housing that didn't exist yet. Before a single shovel hit dirt, before a single brick was laid, over 3,000 prospective buyers were on a waiting list for just 390 homes. That's not hope. That's demand with nowhere to go. And Bryant is betting his church's land, his church's credibility, and his own name on filling that gap. Let's start with the project that made headlines first, New Birth Village. The church took 35 acres of its own campus, land it owns outright with no debt attached, and handed it over to build 390 residential homes. And this part matters. The entire development is being designed and constructed by an all-Black team, from planners to contractors to construction crews. Bryant's language around it has been consistent and blunt. He's not interested in teaching financial literacy seminars anymore. He wants to physically demonstrate what ownership looks like. We don't want to just teach financial literacy, he said. We want to demonstrate what ownership looks like. Phase 1 alone includes 87 homes. And even that fraction already has thousands of families lined up behind it. Atlanta already leads the nation in Black homeownership, and Bryant is explicitly trying to turn that local advantage into a national model other churches can copy. But housing, according to Bryant himself, is just the opening move. Blackground is structured around 6 interlocking pillars, each with its own nickname, each targeting a different piece of the racial wealth gap. Home ground is the housing arm you just heard about. Common ground is food security, powered through the church's existing King's Table food program, which has already served more than 1.4 million individuals since it launched during the pandemic, distributing hundreds of thousands of pounds of food to families who needed it. Then there's the Bullseye Black Market, a recurring marketplace that has featured roughly 400 Black-owned vendors across multiple shopping weekends, essentially turning church parking lots into small business incubators. And running underneath all of it is a scholarship engine that has quietly moved nearly $4 million to more than 500 students over 5 years. On top of a separate $2 million scholarship push that covered zero out-of-pocket costs for 400 Metro Atlanta graduates through HBCU partnerships. Now here's where the story gets a lot more political and a lot more contested. In March of 2025, on Ash Wednesday, Bryant launched what he called the Target Fast. 40 days, time to Lent, in direct response to Target quietly rolling back the diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments it had made after George Floyd's murder in 2020. Commitments that included a pledge to invest more than $2 billion into Black-owned businesses. What was supposed to be a 40-day spiritual discipline turned into something much bigger. It stretched past 400 days. Roughly 300,000 people pledged to participate, redirecting their spending toward Black-owned businesses instead. And during that stretch, Target stock took its steepest drop in 4 years, falling from over $260 a share in late 2021 down to around $88 a share by early April. On March 11, 2026, at the National Press Club in Washington, standing alongside Tamika Mallory and former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, Bryant announced the boycott was over. His framing was triumphant. The most effective and powerful boycott by Black people since the Montgomery bus boycott 70 years ago, he called it. Organizers said they'd gotten 3 of their 4 original demands. Target had reportedly fulfilled somewhere between 95 and 97% of its $2 billion spending pledge, invested $10 million that helped reopen the Pencil Lewis College of Business and Design in Detroit, the only HBCU design school in the country, and committed to a new HBCU partnership launching that fall. But the fourth demand, a $250 million deposit into Black-owned banks, hadn't happened. Bryant said he was optimistic it would, under Target's new CEO, Michael Fidelki. And that's when the backlash hit. Because here's the part a lot of headlines glossed over: Bryant didn't start this boycott. 3 Minnesota-based activists, Nikema Levy-Armstrong, Monique Cullors Doty, and Jaylani Hussein, launched the original boycott in January of 2025, weeks before Bryant's fast began. When Bryant declared victory in March 2026, those same organizers pushed back hard, arguing that day programs hadn't actually been reinstated and that declaring an early end handed Target a win it hadn't earned. Levy-Armstrong put it directly: how do you call off a boycott focused on diversity and inclusion when there's been no real progress on diversity and inclusion? There were also rumors online that Bryant had been paid to end the fast, which he flatly denied on his podcast, and he later issued a public apology for how the announcement had overshadowed the women who started the movement in the first place. It's a messy, human reminder that even a widely praised campaign involves real tension over credit, strategy, and who gets to speak for a movement. Beyond housing and corporate pressure campaigns, Bryant's vision reaches into the ballot box too, through something called Project 555, run under his broader JHB movement. Launched in 2024 as a direct counter to Project 2025, the conservative policy blueprint from the Heritage Foundation, Project 555 sent Bryant on a national tour through churches in 4 states, holding major mobilization events on the 5th of each month from August through November. He partnered with the Divine Nine Black fraternities and sororities, the Carter Center, and groups like the 100 Black Men of DeKalb County, all pushing the same message: vote on policy, not on personality. As Bryant put it himself, this was about educating people to vote on issues that actually affect their lives, not just showing up because a name feels familiar. So what do you actually call all of this, stacked together? A housing development, a food program that's fed over 1 million people, a 400 vendor marketplace, millions in scholarships, a 400-day corporate boycott that moved a Fortune 500 stock price, a voter mobilization tour built to counter a national political agenda. It's an unusually wide footprint for one pastor, and it raises a real question worth sitting with. Is the Black church stepping into a role that government and traditional banks have failed to fill? Or is this concentrating an enormous amount of trust, land, and capital in the hands of one charismatic leader whose critics say he's a little too comfortable taking credit? Both things can be true at once. The 3,000 families on that housing waitlist aren't waiting for that debate to resolve. They're just waiting for the keys. And whether Blackground becomes the national blueprint Bryant says it will be, or one ambitious chapter in a much longer story about the Black church and economic power in America, is something we're going to be watching play out in real time, starting with those first 87 homes going up in Stonecrest, Georgia, right now.